This is sample data for the lauric acid lab. What the graph basically looks like is you see a very steep slope from 0 minutes to almost 2 minutes. And that should be very common. So that's when you first start heating the lauric acid in the hot water. Then it starts to level off here a little bit. Finally gets to a point where the slope is really almost 0. There's almost no change in the temperature from about 5.5 minutes to over 9 minutes. So there's a good 4 minutes in there where there is virtually no change in temperature. It stays about the same. And then you should again see another pretty steep slope going upwards. This point right here where you get the beginning of the steep slope typically corresponds with the point when the lauric acid is just about done melting. And that's why it starts to increase again like that. When the lauric acid was cooled, then you see at 0 minutes on this green line, this is 0 minutes starting at the high point, and then you get a very steep downward slope for the first like about 2.5 to 3 minutes, where you only get it going pretty much straight downward. And then you get again this very much of a leveling off. This is probably even more obvious than it is for the heating curve. And this lasts for quite a long time, from 4 minutes or so to about 16 minutes. And then once the whole thing is, that's pretty much when the whole thing is solidified. When the whole thing is solidified, then again you get a pretty steep downward slope. So this is what the overall data should look like. If your data is very incomplete or does not look like this, what you should do would be to use the sample data that is posted in BB9. If you had your heating curve and that was pretty complete, go ahead and use that data for what you did with your lab partner for the heating portion of the graph, but then you can use just the cooling data from the cooling portion of the graph. You can use my sample data for the cooling portion of the graph if you didn't get to that part or you didn't get very far with that part.